Yes. So, one of my favorite authors in the world, one of my favorite is actually is the right time to talk about her, is the great Tyler, Margaret Tyler. And I'm sure all of you are very fond of Tyler. At least I am. I am very fond of Margaret Tyler. I'm very fond of all the classical books that she wrote. And when you read about what Tyler writes about Drosera, I'm going to read it again for you. It's one of my favorite paragraph, and I know I read it very often, but I'm going to read it. She writes, look at the lady, how fascinating this lady is. She writes, a few years ago, I came to a startling conclusion that only two people who really know anything about Drosera were Samuel Hahnemann and myself. Then see. And I have had it in my mind ever since that I would like to communicate such knowledge as I possess to my colleagues the world over. Opportunity has now thrust upon me, and I can only hope that I may be enabled to rise to the occasion and to add something very real to our powers of fighting at least one formidable disease, tuberculosis. And then she writes, I'm going to read it further. When through a happy accident, I began to realize what Drosera can do in tuberculosis of bone and joints. I was quite amazed and I started hunting homeopathic literature for warrant using it. Kent knew it not. Clark knew it not. But as far as bone and joints were concerned, I found my justification in black type improvings of Hahnemann. So if you see a patient with a strong tubercular diathesis, tubercular miasm with a lot of bone and joint pathology, the number one tubercular miasm remedy is Drosera. Quite fascinating, no? Hello, we have to read M.L. Tyler, Drug Pictures. My teacher would often tell me, read one remedy every day before you sleep from Margaret Tyler. Use it as a bedtime storybook, he would tell me, Dr. Vijay Vaishnav. And this is what I would do when I was, in my initial journey. I used to read Tyler. Quite a one of my favorite authors. And the way she has written, no, I mean, can you imagine the kind of confidence she's saying? Kent knew it not. Clark knew it not. I like this confidence in people. I think sometimes we as homeopaths sometimes don't or are not so confident enough. And I think that's something that we have to work on. But that's for another day. Huh? So, what did I do? Of course, you know it. I gave the remedy, the great remedy, the Drosera. Drosera rotundifolia. And just a little bit about Drosera, because I'm not going to talk to you that Drosera is a great remedy for cough. I mean, like I told you, this is not the course to talk about that. But it's also worthwhile knowing for me to share with you some very key features of Drosera, which I use a lot. Even if there is no cough, I use Drosera. But what are the particular key symptoms for me? Let's see. The number one thing for me to give Drosera, they cannot be alone. So the first symptom, I'm going to write it for you here, desire for company. And that's why, you can imagine how it's now, it may start looking like a mixture of stramonium, a mixture of kalikab, a mixture of tuberculinum, Drosera. So a lot of desire for company you can see here. Second, I've used Drosera very often for children with ADHD and hyperactive children. So have a look at this. Concentration difficult while studying. Look at this. Concentration difficult with restlessness. Now I'm going to show you some interesting rubrics. Delusion surrounded by enemies like Mercury. Huh? But look at the other rubric. Delusion enemy allows him no rest. Can you imagine now? Now, from syphilitic miasm, which is a feeling of I'm being attacked, there is a feeling that the enemy is behind me and I have to run. So there's a lot of restlessness here. The main genius of tuberculosmiasm is the experience of restlessness. So this is a very nice rubric. And this is how restless Drosera can be. Drosera can be as much restless as tuberculinum. Huh? And the other very favorite symptom of mine of Drosera is delusion is deceived. Someone has cheated me. Someone has betrayed me. In fact, my best friend has cheated me. And a deeper experience in Drosera very often is a feeling of being trapped. Of course, that also comes with being a carnivorous plant. That is a very typical symptom of Drosera. The feeling is I was seduced, trapped, and then betrayed. This is the very typical kind of genius of Drosera. We spoke about this. Fear of evil, fear of ghosts, fear something will happen, fear of persecution, fear of being harassed. And finally, the restless. Look at the symptoms of restlessness. Restlessness with asthmatic complaint. Restlessness busy. Restlessness must drive from place to place. This is a whole big remedy for restlessness. And finally, I want to show you one more last symptom of Drosera which I use. You can see here, suspiciousness. They often look like lachesis also. I had a case that looked exactly like lachesis but ended up becoming a Drosera. And craving. Remember some cravings of Drosera. I want to show you a couple of cravings of Drosera, which I confirm, before I give. Let's see this. One of the very big kind of theme of Drosera is they cannot tolerate sour things. This is a big genius of Drosera. You have to ask the Drosera patient, can you tolerate sour things? And Drosera will often tell you, I cannot tolerate. This is also a difference between Kalikab and Drosera because Kalikab loves sour things. So, anyways, that's what I gave. Just putting here some important kind of keynotes that I have clinically found of Drosera. I'm going to put it here for you. Strong family history of tuberculosis, personal history of tuberculosis, strong appetite for meat and salt. I'm going to write this change here. Aversion to sour. Very chilly. Very chilly. History of recurrent cough. Always Drosera is better by drinking water, like causticum, like cuprum, like Coccus cacti, like Cassia sophera. It's always good to. The repertory is very good, but I always say the best repertory is the one between the years. You have to have the repertory here. It's good to go and check in the repertory, but the day the repertory from the computers go between the years, our real journey starts. Huh? One of my teachers from Calcutta would tell me that you have to become a walking, talking materia medica. I don't know walking, but at least talking. Huh? Hmm. Feeling of being cheated. Although this can be a common symptom in halogens and many other remedy, but feeling of being deceived. The two remedies are Drosera and Ruta, so that's why you should remember. And of course, tuberculosmiasm is very strong, and that's why